Have you ever felt it? That quiet, persistent hum beneath the surface of your days? A low-frequency disturbance in the predictable rhythm of your life? It isn't a loud alarm or a sudden crisis. No, it's far more subtle than that. It's the feeling you get when you're staring out the window during a meeting that could have been an email. A sense that the person you are is trapped behind the person you're pretending to be. It's the taste of lukewarm coffee on a Tuesday morning that suddenly tastes like surrender. It's the hollow echo in a room filled with laughter about things that don't matter to your soul. You look around at a life you meticulously built, or perhaps one you simply fell into, and a single terrifying yet electrifying question whispers from the deepest part of you. Is this it? If that whisper has started to grow louder, if the comfortable numbness of the ordinary has begun to feel like a cage, then I need you to listen closely. What you are feeling is not a sign that you are broken. It's not a symptom of failure or a prelude to collapse. It is the exact opposite. It is the first tremor of an awakening, the cracking of a seed deep within your spirit, a seed that was planted long ago, waiting for the right conditions to grow. These feelings, these signs of discontent, are not pushing you toward the edge, they are pulling you toward your destiny. You are on the verge of discovering a truth that changes everything. Every monumental fortune, every legacy etched into the stone of history, every life of profound meaning and impact began not with a grand inheritance or a stroke of luck, but with this exact feeling. It began with an unseen shift in the fertile soil of the mind. And if you are feeling it now, it means one powerful, undeniable truth. You're already walking the path toward a wealth so profound it cannot be contained in a bank account. It is the wealth of a life fully realized. That seed is finally beginning to sprout. The very first and perhaps most powerful sign that you are being pulled toward this true wealth is a profound and growing discomfort with mediocrity. It's a feeling that has been creeping up on you, hasn't it? What you once accepted as normal now feels like a betrayal of your potential. The mundane routines of an ordinary existence, the predictable loop of work, eat, sleep, repeat, they used to be a source of comfort, a safe harbor, but now they feel like sandpaper against your soul. The job that just pays the bills, the conversations that skim the surface, the mindless entertainment used to numb the silence, these things no longer fit. The suit feels too tight, the path feels too narrow. This isn't just a bad mood or a phase of frustration. This is a deep cellular level awakening. Your spirit is actively rejecting the low vibration energy of a life lived on autopilot. It's a spiritual and mental immune response, purging the habits, the limiting beliefs, and even the people who have kept you tethered to a smaller version of yourself. True wealth, the kind that permeates every area of your life, is born in the moment you stand in the middle of your comfortable life and declare with every fiber of your being, this is not who I am anymore. That declaration is the pivot point. It's the moment the compass of your soul recalibrates. You find you're no longer impressed by the fleeting symbols of success. You crave the substance of it. You're no longer entertained by the noise of the crowd. You seek the wisdom in the silence. You don't want luck. You demand intention. You don't want a lottery ticket. You want the blueprint. This insatiable hunger for more, not more things, but more meaning, more freedom, more truth, is a definitive signal. You have crossed an invisible threshold in your own mind. You are beginning to walk with the posture, the energy, and the unshakable certainty of a man who has finally, truly decided. And the moment a man decides, the entire universe conspires to rearrange itself to match that decision. Another unmistakable sign is the birth of an almost aggressive intolerance for wasted time. You've come to a stark and powerful realization. Time is the raw material of creation, the very currency of the gods. The poor and the average spend it as if they have an infinite supply, trading precious, non-refundable moments for cheap distractions and temporary pleasures. But the wealthy, the truly prosperous, understand a different calculus. They don't spend time, they invest it. Every second, every minute, every hour is a brick being laid in the foundation of their empire, a brush stroke on the canvas of their legacy. You've stopped living for the fleeting relief of Friday afternoon. Your heart now beats in rhythm with your vision. The weekend is no longer an escape from your life. It's a dedicated workshop to build it. You have internalized the profound truth that a single focused hour spent building your dream is infinitely more valuable than a decade spent wishing for it to appear. And because this truth now burns within you, you have become a fierce, unapologetic guardian of your moments. The word no has become one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. You say it more often now, not from a place of arrogance or selfishness, but from a deep sense of alignment. Every no to a pointless meeting, an energy-draining acquaintance, or a mindless distraction is a thunderous yes to your destiny. You've developed a visceral, almost physical allergy to idle gossip, to the endless, hypnotic scroll of a screen, to any form of entertainment that leaves you emptier than when you began. You are simply no longer available for people or activities that drain your spirit and blunt the sharp edge of your ambition. You have come to understand that your energy is sacred. and where you place your attention is the ultimate determinant of your wealth. The man who can command his own focus is a king in a world of distracted peasants. And you have begun the sacred work of mastering your attention. This newfound mastery of attention reveals itself in another profound shift. Where others are caught in the chaotic winds of reaction, you are the calm eye of the storm, moving with intention. Where the masses mindlessly consume content, scrolling through the lives of others, you are driven by an undeniable urge to create, to build, to contribute. Where others desperately chase validation, opportunity, and fleeting moments of recognition, you have begun to cultivate an inner world so rich and powerful that you attract them effortlessly. This is the natural consequence of moving from a scattered state to a focused one. Focus is the chisel that shatters the chains of mediocrity. It is the magnifying glass that concentrates the full power of your sun onto a single point until it bursts into flame. When a man is truly focused, he becomes impervious to the subtle manipulations of the world. The siren call of comparison loses its power over him because he is too busy running his own race, his eyes fixed on his own horizon. He walks with a quiet confidence, an unshakable sense of direction, and let this truth settle deep in your bones. The man with clear direction, even with empty pockets, is infinitely wealthier than the man with a filled bank account but a confused soul. Your thinking has also undergone a radical transformation. You have begun to operate on a different timeline. This is a critical sign. You no longer live at the mercy of your emotional impulses, making decisions based on how you feel in the moment. Instead, you have started the methodical, patient work of building systems. You think in terms of years, even decades, not just days or weeks. You've stopped chasing the temporary high of a bigger paycheck and started the more meaningful work of building permanent infrastructure. You are constructing assets that work for you while you sleep. Assets of character, assets of skill, assets of wisdom, assets that generate value independent of your direct effort. You've become the kind of man who asks, how will this decision serve me, my family, and my mission in 5 years? Instead of the far more common question, how does this choice make me feel right now? And that subtle yet seismic shift in perspective, that is the bedrock upon which all great empires are built. Your very perception of money has fundamentally changed, and this is a clear mark of profound inner growth. There was a time when money was a source of fear, of anxiety, of scarcity, but now you approach it with a calm, calculated respect. You have come to understand its true nature. Money is a phenomenal servant, but a tyrannical master. It is an amplifier of the character you already possess, not a savior that will magically fix your inner world. Most critically, you now see money not as the prize for which you trade your life's precious hours, but as the natural byproduct of the value you create and deliver to the world. You've mentally exited the soul-crushing equation of trading time for dollars. Your mind is now focused on multiplication and leverage, leveraging your ideas, your knowledge, your systems, your network. This is the very essence of a wealth consciousness. You now understand that wealth is not a number in an account. It is a state of being, a mindset, a way of seeing the world. And your mindset is no longer impoverished. A poor mind is a breeding ground for blame, complaints, and a passive waiting for rescue. It outsources its power to circumstances, to the economy, to other people. But a wealthy mind is a creator, a problem solver, a relentless agent of action. You've stopped blaming your past for your present condition. You've stopped waiting for someone to give you permission to be great. You've stopped looking for signs and validation from the outside world. You have become the sign. You are the one who initiates, the one who takes the first step into the unknown. You are the one who looks in the mirror and says with unshakable conviction, it starts with me, it ends with me. That is true power, and that kind of power always inevitably precedes prosperity. There's another sign that you're firmly on this path. You've developed a voracious, almost obsessive appetite for growth. It's a hunger that can't be satisfied by passive entertainment or superficial knowledge. You find yourself reading more than you ever have before, not just for information, but for transformation. You're asking deeper, more challenging questions of yourself and the world around you. You actively seek out conversations that stretch your mind, that make you uncomfortable, that force you to defend your beliefs or abandon them for better ones. You have consciously, deliberately replaced the empty calories of gossip with the rich nutrition of mentorship. You have traded the dead-end energy of complaining for the forward momentum of commitment. You have abandoned the comfortable realm of theory and plunged yourself into the messy, beautiful, and powerful world of execution. And that relentless execution, even when it's clumsy, even when it's imperfect, is generating the most valuable asset you can possess: momentum. Understand this crucial distinction. Momentum is the silent giant of success, not speed. Speed is a fleeting burst of energy. It's impressive but unsustainable. Momentum, however, is a force of nature. It builds on itself. Every disciplined morning you conquer. every focused hour of deep work you complete, every difficult choice you make in alignment with your future self. Each one adds another layer of weight to your character. And that character weight creates its own spiritual gravity. People begin to feel it. Opportunities are drawn to it. The universe senses your seriousness, your unwavering commitment, and it begins to clear a path for you. You are becoming serious now. Not joyless or somber, but serious in your mission. In fact, you probably find yourself smiling more. Not because your life has suddenly become easier, but because you are finally living in alignment with your true north. This inner alignment changes everything, especially how you face the inevitable storms of life. You no longer spiral into panic when things go wrong. Instead, you see challenges as curriculum, and setbacks as setups for a comeback. You have stopped wasting precious energy making excuses, and have started taking radical ownership of your outcomes. You don't even talk about your goals in the same tentative way anymore. There's a certainty in your voice. You walk like someone who fully expects to win, not out of arrogance, but out of a deep-seated faith in the process. You carry yourself with the quiet assurance of a man who has already visited his future in his mind, and knows exactly what it looks like, what it feels like. You see, every wealthy and fulfilled man I have ever studied, from the ancient Stoics to the modern titans of industry, shared one remarkable trait: they walked in advance of their results. They did not wait for the evidence of success to appear before they started acting like they were worthy of it. They moved with the energy of a man whose victory was already guaranteed. They planned with the meticulous detail of someone building a vision that was already real in the spiritual realm. And now you are doing the same. You wake in the quiet hours of the morning and you don't just plan your day, you visualize your victory. You speak words of power and abundance over your life, not as a hopeful wish, but as a commanding prophecy. You guard your words with the diligence of a soldier guarding a fortress, because you have come to understand the creative power they hold. Words create worlds. This is why your very language is transforming, a powerful, undeniable sign. The weak, hesitant phrases of your past are dissolving. You no longer say, "I can't, maybe," or "hopefully." Your vocabulary is now built on the granite of "I will," "I am," and "it is done." You have systematically erased the language of doubt from your inner dialogue. You've stopped replaying the highlight reel of your past failures. You have consecrated your own voice as an instrument of prophecy. And you are now narrating your future with the precision and authority of a master storyteller. And when a man seizes control of his own narrative, he seizes control of his reality. As your inner world transforms, your outer world inevitably follows, starting with the people you allow into your orbit. Your circle is changing, and this is another critical sign. You are beginning to outgrow conversations that once felt comfortable. The communities you used to belong to, the ones built around comfort, complaint, and shared limitations, are starting to feel foreign. This isn't because you've become better than anyone. It's because you are committed to building something bigger than yourself. And the bigger the vision, the more selective and fortified your circle must become. You have internalized the profound truth that proximity is power, and that mindsets, especially those of poverty and mediocrity, are dangerously contagious. So you have begun the intentional, sometimes painful process of placing yourself in rooms where excellence is not the goal, but the baseline. You've learned that you don't always have to be the smartest or most successful person in the room. In fact, it's better if you're not. You just need to be in the rooms where the smartest people are talking, thinking, and building. You have evolved from a passive consumer of information into an active student of wealth, not just the mechanics of income, but the deep principles of energy, of legacy, of stewardship. You're no longer just asking, "How can I make more money?" You're asking, "What kind of man must I become to attract, manage, and multiply abundance for generations to come?" You are constructing a personal philosophy, a code of conduct, a system for living that is far more valuable than any single financial strategy. And it is this code, this internal constitution, that is now carrying you forward with unstoppable force. And what about adversity? The storms will still come, the winds will still blow, but another sign you are on the path is that adversity no longer breaks you. It forges you. Where once you buckled and folded under pressure, now you find yourself growing stronger, taller, more resilient. You have come to understand a fundamental truth of the universe. Every obstacle is a form of training, custom designed to prepare you for the next level of your destiny. You've stopped resenting failure. You've started dissecting it, learning from its lessons with the dispassionate curiosity of a scientist. You no longer run from pain. You have become an alchemist, transmuting it into power. You don't just endure hardship, you extract the wisdom from it. You use the friction as fuel for your fire. And because of this profound shift in perspective, you move through trials not with grim resignation, but with a quiet, unshakable grace. That is the definitive mark of a soul being prepared for great responsibility, for great wealth. Because wealth in all its forms requires a strong container to hold it. And that container is your character. If you are seeing these signs, it means your character is undergoing a massive expansion. You are becoming a man who is responsible with his word, a man who honors his commitments to others, and more importantly, to himself. You are finishing what you start, not because of external pressure, but because of an internal standard. You are showing up and putting in the work, even when the initial fire of motivation has long since faded. You are becoming the kind of man who can be trusted with more influence, more resources, more responsibility, and trust. Trust always precedes transfer. That is a spiritual law as certain as gravity. When the universe knows you can be trusted, wealth seeks you out, because wealth is simply energy, and energy always flows toward a well-defined structure. When you build that structure through your daily habits, your unwavering vision, your commitment to service, and your relentless consistency, the energy of abundance has no choice but to move in your direction. Not because you cheated or manipulated the system, but because you became the system. You have become the system now. The transformation is undeniable. You are no longer living a life of guesswork, hoping that things will eventually fall into place. You are living a life of deliberate execution, laying one brick perfectly on top of another. You are no longer trapped in the passive state of hoping for a better future. You are in the active, powerful state of building it, moment by moment. And that, my friend, is the clearest, most irrefutable sign of all. You are not just on the path to wealth, you have become the path. There is a profound, almost sacred moment in every man's journey when he feels this shift deep in his core. It's not triggered by an external event like a promotion or a financial windfall. It is an internal realization, a change in identity based not on what he possesses, but on who he is becoming. This shift is quiet. It doesn't announce itself with a trumpet blast or a round of applause. It arrives in the subtle, yet powerful form of new, non-negotiable standards. It shows up when you begin holding yourself to a higher level of discipline, integrity, and excellence, especially when no one is watching. It reveals its presence when you start consistently doing the hard, uncomfortable things that most people won't do, because you understand that your future self is not just hoping for it, but demanding it of you today. If you are seeing these signs in your daily life, it means you have made a crucial pivot. You are no longer chasing money. You are becoming the kind of man that money, opportunity, and success actively chase. And let me remind you of a timeless truth. The man who is truly, unshakably wealthy never leads with his money. He leads with his value. He leads with his clarity. He leads with his purpose. Because he understands at a soul level that wealth is not something you pursue. It is something you attract. And you attract it by becoming relentlessly useful, by becoming impeccably reliable, by becoming a master of your craft. Every single time you increase your capacity to serve and solve problems for others, your wealth potential doesn't just increase, it multiplies exponentially. The world is overflowing with people who want to be rich, but the world was built and continues to be advanced by the people who choose to be useful. Take an honest look at your daily habits right now. If these signs are truly manifesting in your life, it means your habits have undergone a radical re-engineering. They have begun to align with the principle of long-term gain over the siren song of short-term gratification. You no longer eat simply for the fleeting pleasure of taste. You eat for sustained energy and peak mental performance. You no longer use sleep as an escape from a life you dread. You use rest as a strategic tool for recovery and regeneration. You no longer scroll through your phone to kill time. You read and study to expand your mind and acquire new skills. Do not mistake these for small, insignificant changes. These are monumental indicators that your core identity is shifting. And identity is the powerful, unseen engine of wealth creation. When you fundamentally change how you see yourself, you change what you permit and what you pursue in your life. A man with a poor identity justifies his bad habits, seeing them as deserved comforts or unavoidable weaknesses. A man with a rich identity builds his life around the powerful scaffolding of discipline. And understand this, discipline is not a punishment. It is the ultimate privilege. Discipline is the guardian that protects your time from thieves. It protects your emotional state from chaos. It protects your focus from distraction. Without it, nothing of great value can ever be built, let alone sustained. With it, absolutely everything becomes possible. If your mornings are becoming more structured, if your physical environment is becoming more intentional and organized, if your calendar is becoming a reflection of your priorities rather than other people's agendas, this is no accident. This is the observable behavior of a man who is preparing for stewardship, not just scrambling for survival. You see, you cannot attract and hold great wealth if you still carry the mindset of a man just trying to get by. You must begin to think, act, and decide like a man with the weight of a legacy on his shoulders. A man building a legacy doesn't waste his precious time on petty arguments. He doesn't chase the cheap validation of likes and comments. He doesn't measure his self-worth by the volume of applause. He is anchored in his principles, immovable in his purpose, He understands that real wealth is not measured by how much he earns. It is measured by how much value he builds, how much wisdom he keeps, and how much of a foundation he can pass on so that the next generation doesn't have to start from zero. This transformation extends to your very relationship with work. It has matured. You have stopped asking life to be easy. You have stopped looking for the mythical shortcut to success. You have stopped idolizing the idea of passive income without first dedicating yourself to becoming an actively valuable individual. You now understand the universal law. Leverage only works when it is applied to a point of immense pre-existing value. You now see hard work not as a curse to be escaped, but as a sacred process to be mastered. You no longer describe your effort as a grind, a word heavy with resentment. You see it as a gateway, a portal to the next version of yourself. Because every single repetition, every focused task, every hour of deliberate deep action is compounding into a fortress of competence. And in the new economy, competence is the ultimate currency. The men who build lasting wealth are masters of something. Not dabblers in everything, but masters of something specific. They commit, they refine, they obsess, they simplify, and in that profound simplicity, they discover unimaginable power. You are no longer distracted by every new trend or shiny object that flashes across your screen. You're not jumping from one business idea to the next, hoping to strike gold. You have chosen your vehicle. You have clarified your mission. And now you are digging deep. You are building depth in a world that celebrates superficiality. Because you have learned that surface-level effort will always produce surface-level results. But depth creates dominion. There's another more subtle sign you are walking this path of mastery. You have learned to regulate your own emotions. Where you once reacted with impulsive anger or crippling anxiety, you now respond with calculated thought. Where you once panicked in the face of uncertainty, you now pause, breathe, and strategize. Where you once internalized every criticism and setback as a personal indictment, you now investigate the situation with detached curiosity, looking for the lesson. You have come to understand that emotional intelligence is not a sign of weakness. It is one of the most powerful weapons in your arsenal. It allows you to move with strategic precision when others are being tossed about by the chaotic waves of their own impulses. It empowers you to make decisions based on enduring principles, not temporary pressures. And that single difference, that internal fortitude, is what transforms you into a man who can lead, a man who can build, a man who can multiply. And multiplication is the master key, not just of money, but of self. When you begin to think in terms of multiplying your time through delegation, multiplying your skills through teaching, multiplying your vision through leadership, and multiplying your message through technology, your mind has officially entered the operating system of wealth. Because wealthy minds don't just add and subtract, they multiply. A poor mind only consumes. It is a black hole of need, constantly seeking the next thrill, the next fix, the next dopamine hit from a purchase or a distraction. But a wealthy mind understands the supreme power of delaying gratification in favor of multiplication. That is precisely why you are choosing to study instead of scroll. It's why you are building systems to solve future problems instead of just escaping today's stress. It's why you are investing your energy into assets instead of draining it on liabilities. You are beginning to see, with crystal clarity, that every single action you take is either building an asset or creating a liability. Every habit you entertain is either compounding in your favor or compounding against you. And because this truth has been seared into your consciousness, you are starting to make decisions not from the limited perspective of your current feelings, but from the expanded wisdom of your future self. This is the pivot point that most people will never reach in their entire lives. It is the sacred moment when your vision for the future becomes louder and more compelling than your present emotions. It's when your why becomes heavier than your weaknesses. It's when you start choosing your actions based on the desired outcome, not the immediate comfort. That isn't just personal growth. That is the active, conscious preparation for a life of abundance. You are preparing yourself now, not just with vague goals, but with concrete structures. You've begun to track your inputs. You measure your energy levels. You audit your time like a forensic accountant. You track your spending with ruthless honesty. You track your behaviors and patterns, not because you are obsessive or neurotic, but because you are radically responsible. And responsibility is the non-negotiable price of admission to a life of freedom. The man who cannot be responsible for his own energy, time, and resources cannot be rich, because wealth will always flee from a life of chaos and disorder. But wealth is magnetically drawn to discipline, to stewardship, to meticulous intentionality. Another sign? Your self-talk has become your greatest asset. You no longer use your inner voice to beat yourself up for every mistake. You learn, you recalibrate, you speak life over your situation, you declare truth in the face of doubt. You understand that you must lead yourself first, with unwavering conviction, before you can ever hope to lead anything or anyone else. And that leadership begins in the mirror each morning. Every day you consciously choose the voice you will follow. And you are consistently choosing the voice of power, of capability, of resilience. You are building yourself from the inside out with language that empowers. And that is a sign of true mastery. You've reached a new level of maturity where you no longer need external hype to get you going. You've outgrown the temporary high of motivation that isn't backed by immediate movement. You are no longer impressed by flashy lifestyles that are built on a foundation of debt and insecurity. You have cultivated a deep respect for consistency. You admire humility in the truly great. You actively seek wisdom over mere information. You would rather be silent and successful than loud and empty. And that internal shift, that growing depth of character, is a powerful magnet for lasting, sustainable wealth. And let's talk about the unseen, the energetic realm. If you're seeing these other signs, you have likely become far more sensitive to energy. You can feel it when a situation is out of alignment with your values. You can detect the subtle dissonance when a person's words don't match the energy of their spirit. You can sense when a seemingly golden opportunity is not right for you, even if you can't logically explain why. That heightened sensitivity is not a weakness. It is the sharpening of your discernment. It means your intuition is becoming a trusted advisor. And the truly wealthy man always learns to trust his gut, not as a rash emotional impulse, but as a highly refined form of awareness. You are profoundly aware now, not paranoid, but aware. Aware of your choices, of your recurring patterns, of your own blind spots. And that awareness gives you the power to course correct before the damage becomes irreversible. That is what separates the man who keeps and grows what he builds from the man who inevitably loses it all. It's not about IQ, it's about awareness. It's the humility to adapt, to ask better questions, to evolve when others allow their success to make them arrogant. If you are starting to see this kind of humility taking root in your own character, you are walking on sacred ground, because the path to true wealth is a sacred journey. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the masses. It is for the committed. It is for the man who stays the course when it gets brutally hard. The man who makes a decision while others are still weighing their options. The man who willingly sacrifices short-term approval for long-term abundance. That is who you are now. You don't just want more from life. You are actively becoming more. Your external circumstances may not fully reflect this inner transformation yet. You may still be in the early grinding stages of the climb. But deep inside, in the place where only you can look, you already know. You are different now. Your mind is sharper. Your intentions are purer. Your actions are bolder. You are no longer the man you were a year ago, or even a month ago, and you are never ever going back. That realization, that is wealth. Not in the having, but in the becoming. And every sign you are seeing now is irrefutable proof. You are becoming the kind of man who can handle wealth, manage wealth, multiply wealth, and pass on a legacy not just of money, but of a transformed mind. And that, my friend, is utterly priceless. If you are still seeing these signs, and more importantly, if you are still living them day in and day out, then let me tell you something that very few people will ever have the courage to say to you out loud. Wealth is no longer a distant possibility for you. It has become a mathematical and spiritual inevitability. Why? Because you have already done the hardest work. You have transformed yourself into the very kind of man that wealth was designed to find and to serve. You no longer need to chase riches like a desperate beggar, hoping for a scrap of blessing from the table of fortune. You have earned the right to expect prosperity. Not through a sense of arrogant entitlement, but through the unshakable power of alignment. Your thoughts, your decisions, your daily actions, and your non-negotiable standards now resonate at the frequency of abundance. Look at the way you now treat your mornings. They are no longer a chaotic rush of obligation, but a sacred, silent sanctuary for creation. You rise with purpose, not with panic. You prepare yourself for the day, not just react to its demands. You take command of your day, instead of waiting to be commanded by it. And every single day that begins with that level of intention is another powerful seed of wealth planted in the fertile ground of your life. Compound that focused intention over months, then years, then decades, and there is no force on this earth that can halt the harvest that is coming to you. Wealth is not for the scattered and the distracted. It flows like a mighty river toward the deliberate. And you, my friend, have become a man of deliberate, unshakable purpose. Even the nature of your goals has evolved. Where you once might have chased the fleeting validation of status, you now pursue the enduring power of significance. Where you once believed that having money would make you feel powerful, you now know that true power is the absolute control over yourself, your impulses, your emotions, your focus. You've discovered the profound paradox of freedom. It isn't about having the ability to buy more things. It's about building a life where you need less. And from this posture of inner sufficiency, you have stepped into a realm of incredible mastery, Because the man who truly needs nothing from the outside world is the most powerful and dangerous man alive. He cannot be manipulated by fear. He cannot be distracted by desire. He cannot be bought at any price. And because of this profound internal freedom, wealth is now drawn to him as naturally as the tides are drawn to the moon. You've learned that the wealthiest people in the world are not the ones who hoard the most, but the ones who create and circulate the most value. You have fully stepped into the mindset of a value creator. You no longer wake up asking, what can I get from the world today? You wake up asking, what value can I give today that multiplies and serves others? This single question is the great differentiator that separates the truly wealthy from the merely hopeful. Hopeful people wish for a better life. Wealthy people get up and serve their way to one. They understand that money is simply a measure of the value they deliver, and that value flows from a relentlessly refined mind and a consistently sharpened skill set. You are in the process of sharpening now. Every single day you think a little deeper. Every day you solve problems a little faster. Every day you communicate with a little more clarity and conviction. That is the undeniable evidence of a man preparing for a life of magnitude. And let us not forget the profound internal shift that always precedes any significant financial breakthrough, the shift in identity. If your core identity has changed, then your external reality has already begun its inevitable journey to catch up. You no longer say, I'm trying to be successful. You declare, I am becoming successful. You don't say, maybe one day I'll be wealthy. You affirm, it's already done in the spiritual realm. My actions are just catching up to that reality. You walk like it's done. You work like it's done. You plan like it's done. And that deep cellular conviction is what the universe responds to. Energy does not lie. When your mind is truly made up, reality has no choice but to bend to match that unwavering frequency. Even in the quiet moments, even in silence, you are building. You no longer require constant praise or external feedback to know that you are on the right track. You have cultivated the sacred habit of showing up and delivering your best work, even when no one is there to notice. You have divorced yourself from the crippling need for approval. You have become your own source of accountability. And that self-respect, that unwavering integrity, that is the very fiber from which wealthy men are woven. Wealth without character is a fleeting illusion, a house built on sand. But wealth built on the bedrock of a transformed identity, intentional action, and internal power, that kind of wealth is a fortress that can outlast generations. Let me tell you this with all the certainty in my soul. For you, it is no longer a matter of if you will be wealthy. It is only a matter of when. The man you are relentlessly becoming is now an inevitability, because you no longer make decisions based on your current limitations or your present circumstances. You make them from the perspective of your fully realized future self. You don't ask, what can I afford right now? You ask, what choice would the man I am becoming make in this moment? You've stopped budgeting based on your fears and have started investing based on your faith, not a blind faith, but a faith backed by disciplined action. You have made every dollar in your possession a soldier fighting for your freedom. Every task on your list a message to the universe about your intentions, and every conversation an opportunity to learn, to connect, to serve. And because of this total alignment, wealth has no choice but to find its way into your life. You now speak in full, complete sentences. You communicate with conviction and clarity. You own your time like a king owns his territory. You protect your energy with the ferocity of a mother protecting her child. You move with a calm, deliberate rhythm, not a frantic rush. You think 3 steps ahead. You ask the questions no one else is asking. You no longer wait for the world to assign a value to you. You assign it to yourself, and you do it first. And when a man knows his own value, the world has no choice but to respond in kind. You don't beg for your worth, you walk in it. You have even made peace with solitude. Where you once may have feared being alone with your own thoughts, you now cherish it, protect it, and seek it out. Because you have transformed solitude from a place of loneliness into your personal workshop, your sacred training ground, your vision board, your altar of refinement. You understand that the man who can sit in the silence and build his empire in the dark is the man who can be trusted to handle the blinding light of abundance. Most people fear silence because it forces them to confront the parts of themselves they have been running from. But you have faced yourself. You looked into the mirror at all your flaws and all your fears, and you did not flinch. You did not run. You grew. And that growth, that self-acceptance forged in the fires of solitude, is priceless. You have stopped outsourcing your discipline. You have stopped making other people responsible for your habits and your focus. You no longer need an external reminder to do what you told yourself you would do. You honor your word, especially the words you speak to yourself in private. And when your private behavior aligns perfectly with your public declarations, that is the definition of wealth. Because true wealth is congruence. There is no split personality, no double standard, no mask. There is one mind, one mission, one man, fully integrated and moving with purpose. You have developed vision. Not the shallow kind of vision sold on motivational posters, but the kind of deep, unshakable vision that is written into the very code of your spirit. You see your future long before it becomes visible to the naked eye. You speak life into dry and desolate places. You build when there is no audience to applaud you. You plant seeds of greatness while others are complaining about the weather. And because of that, you will reap a harvest that others can only dream about. Not by luck, not by chance, not by inheritance, but by immutable law, the law of cause and effect, the law of unwavering belief, the law of radical responsibility, the law of absolute mental clarity. If you are truly walking this path, there is one final, undeniable sign that cannot be ignored. You have become impossible to unseat. You are no longer shaken by delays. You are no longer discouraged by rejection. You are no longer broken by setbacks. Why? Because you have painstakingly trained your mind to interpret all forms of pain as preparation. You have mastered the alchemical ability to extract profit from every adversity. You are a master alchemist now. You turn resistance into results. You turn loss into leverage. You turn delay into divine direction. You have made excellence your default setting. It is not something you turn on when you feel like it. It is simply who you are, even when no one is looking. You have made integrity your internal compass. You have made purpose your true currency. You no longer just talk about your goals. You talk about your systems. Because you know that goals can inspire you, but only systems can build your future. And you, my friend, are building every single day. You are no longer chasing the big, flashy wins. You are patiently stacking the small, disciplined ones. Because you now understand that the compound effect of daily discipline will always outperform every flash-in-the-pan success story. You are not building for next week's gratification. You are building for your legacy. You are not here to impress the crowd. You are here to last. And that mindset, that long-game posture, that is precisely what makes your future wealth an absolute inevitability. So I will say it to you one last time. If you are seeing these signs, you are not on the wrong track. You are not late. You are not lost. You are being forged in the fires of becoming. And everything you are experiencing now, the new habits, the powerful posture, the piercing clarity, the quiet confidence, these are not accidents. These are confirmations. They are confirmations that you are walking in perfect alignment with the man you were always destined to become. That man is already inside of you. He is the one who rises before the sun, who chooses to study while others complain, who executes while others hesitate, who speaks truth, lives truth, and builds his life upon a foundation of truth. He doesn't just wear the garments of success, he embodies its very essence. And every single day, that man is growing stronger, sharper, bolder, and freer. You don't owe the world an explanation for your ambition. You don't owe anyone proof of your progress. You owe yourself the discipline of follow-through. You owe yourself the gift of consistency. You owe your future family the version of you who refused to give up when the journey got hard. You owe your highest calling a man who answered its summons without excuse. So stand tall, walk firm, and keep building. The world may not notice what you are doing today, but the universe has already taken notice. Because the man you are now disciplined, aligned, clear, and relentlessly becoming is the very man wealth was searching for all along.